One of these things is not like the other. Ew. So today we're going to pull the engine out and the transmission, maybe into tomorrow. But one of the big problems I have with this bug, if you look carefully here, is the engine does not line up with the center line of the car. It's over a little bit. And you can see that clearly, oops, when you look down here at the tailpipes. They're off just a little bit. And that's when it got hit. So it bent something underneath there. We're going to look at that. I've been looking at it and can't figure out exactly what it is while the engine's in the car. And I knew that when I got it. I was going to have to deal with it someday. It runs and moves, but I got this gap. You can see my tape residue. I just put tape over it. So I got to do something about that. And that's the big dilemma. But let's pull this engine out first and go from there. So the first thing you do when you're pulling out an engine is you take off as much as you can take off by hand. We're going to take off the air cleaner here. We're going to take off our, I made a little warm air tube. I've actually got the chimney that goes over there. I just forgot to put it on when I put the engine together. Going to pull out the heater tubes. These don't have to come off, but I'm going to pull them off. It just makes things a little bit more easy to get out when we take it out, because you don't have to worry about these, getting crimped against there. We got some wires. We've got the positive wire off the coil. We've got the sending wire for the oil pressure switch, and I've got some other stuff on here like the backup light goes across here, goes to the coil. Oops, I'm gonna weave. Come on, there we go. We'll leave this one on. Doesn't need to stay on. I don't know why I'm messing with it so much. All right, so there's our backup light. Sit out there. And then we've got the two wires on this generator. It's supposed to have three. I gotta relocate the generator. I gotta spin it because this wire hooks up to a hole that's over there. But there we go. We got our generator. So we need to disconnect those. We're going to disconnect the accelerator cable. We're going to disconnect the fuel line, and then we got to do some stuff underneath. But let me get the appropriate wrenches for these little guys and a screwdriver for the fuel line. What size are these? These are a couple 8s on top of here. Nice thing is this one's captive, but we're not going to loosen it all the way into this one. Different end on the wire. I'm going to make sure that stays there. Don't lose those. And this wiring harness can come out here now. So got that side of the engine. We're going to disconnect throttle cable here. Way too long a screwdriver was what I got in my hand. Alright, I'm going to need a pair of needle nose pliers. I'll be right back with those. These are fantastic. These are my favorite tool that I bought recently. Nice long curved needle nose. And we can get in here. There we go. And we don't want to lose our barrel nut here. I'm gonna put it in my pocket. And the fuel line. The top one here is the fuel line going in. This is why I got these pliers. Come on, a little looser. It's a little frayed. I've got a lot more fuel line. I've been messing with carburetors and stuff lately, so got this that you can do. That. It's brilliant. Love it. And I'm going to put a crimp underneath here on that fuel line too, so that when I take it off, it doesn't just pour fuel out the whole time it's off. And that's really it up here, unless you see something that I forgot. Yeah, I think that's all the wires and everything on top. Pretty easy up here. Then we got to go underneath, and there's quite a few more things underneath there that we're going to get rid of. Well, I was going to try and set the tripod up where you could see, but you can't. So there's a couple more things over here on the driver's side. Right here, we've got one of our heater connections on our heater boxes. So I've got to get that off. I've got to crimp off that fuel line up there. I can't even see if you can see that, but if you can, great. Let's see, you can see it this direction. Where is it? There it is. I need to crimp off that fuel line right there so that we don't leak gas all over the place. I gotta take care not to pull that where is it? That line right there along with me. That's the throttle linkage there. And then on the driver's side, or passenger side, excuse me, we've got, that's why you see over here, we've got another linkage to our heater system here. And, there it is, we've got the starter. So we've got to pull the starter out also. And it's got a couple wires, where is it? There it is. Got a couple wires on the back side of it also. Tough to see from here. But I'm going to pull all that off without showing you, because I don't know how to get the camera in there and hold on to do this and do all the work and everything too. So I'm not going to try. I forgot to tell you, when you take the starter off, you've got a couple electrical connections there, but down at the base, there's one. You got a couple nuts. There's one on the top also. One of those holds the engine in also. It's also an engine, a bolt that holds the transmission to the engine, transaxle to the engine. So you'll have that, and then three others, and we'll show you those here in just a minute. I'm going to get the starter off, and I'll come back. Okay, getting those four bolts out is relatively easy. There's two on the bottom. What made it easier for me is I got a new, this is actually Harbor Freight, 3/8 inch ratchet, 12 volt lithium. Says 60 foot-pounds of torque. Pulled those off, no problem at all. Also got the top bolt, excuse me, nut for this one. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Let me put some light on. Let's see if I get down in here. There we go. There we go. There's a nut there. The bolt is mostly out. I just need to loosen that nut. And then there's another one. Where is it? See, the doghouse is this way. This is what makes the dual ports a little tough. There's another one right there. And what can make those a lot easier is this. These are Orion Motor Tech. I got it off the Amazon, and it's a very long reach wrench. So the one over here on the passenger side is connected to the starter, and it's actually got a D-shaped bolt on the other end. Where is that sucker? There it is. Oops, there's wires in the way. It's got a D-shaped bolt end on the other end that goes through the starter that kind of holds it there. So I'm going to use these long wrench and try and get those out of there. Let's see if I can get a video of this, because I already got it on there. And you got this nice long reach, and it's ratcheting. Works fantastically well. Just great. And on the other side, which is invisible from here, I can get down there and get that one too. So I'll bring you back once I get all 4 of these off, and I gotta go get the jack. I'll show you. I just got my regular floor jack here. I'll get my other jack, and I'll show you how to take this thing out. So as you can see, I've got this great motorcycle stand here, and I've got it positioned underneath the engine, and it's kind of sitting on the little stud areas for the some of the tin work, and it just kind of seems to fit in there. I could put a cross piece of plywood or something in there, but got it on the jack and slightly jacked up, and we should be able to grab the tailpipes, literally, and wiggle this out, but I'm not going to do it while trying to hold the camera too. I'll do it all at once and see if we can rock this out of here. Some people take off that rear piece of tin back there. Gives you a little bit more room. I put it in with the tin on there, so I think we're good. But if we run into trouble, we'll try that too. Well, let's see what we can do here in my noisy gravel driveway. There it comes. It's out, essentially. Now we can drop the engine a little bit, get a little bit further out. There we go. We are disassembled from the car. It does drop back as it drops down a little bit. There we go, we're sitting on the bottom. Now, oh, I did forget the one thing you always forget, which is the accelerator cable, but it's got the tube there, so it just slides as you go back. Not a huge deal. So number 2 is getting the car up in the air. So I'll show you that. Pull you off the stand here. Yeah, 1 minute. So I've got another jack here underneath the middle of the car, and I've taken a wheel and tire and put it underneath there so I can lift the whole car up there. Gives me some extra height and a little cushion. It's spreading the weight a little bit since I'm kind of on the frame rail and a little bit on the floorboards. I'm trying this. We'll see if it works. Might be a mistake. Don't know. But that's another jack. So let's go. Put you back on the stand, and you can watch the carnage or the victory. That was just something simple. That's all that was. This is the hard part, is getting past the apron. So I just need a couple more inches here. That's why I've got the whole tire and everything in there, is so I can get this kind of height. Oh, the reverse light. It's stuck through the tube. It's still, the wire is still good. So we're good. It was just through the fan shroud there, or through the front apron. But there we go. There's the Volkswagen engine out. Transmission there. We have a really nice rear main seal leak. And we'll be fixing that. And we got a new transmission coming too. So we've got to do a bunch of stuff to this engine. And I don't have a ton of spare time. I've got some weekends and some evenings. Days are getting warmer and longer, so we'll be getting to this over the next month or so, getting all this stuff in. And I'm not going to crawl underneath here, but my tire trick seems to have worked really well. My jack slid a little bit off the center of the tire, so I'm not going to keep it up there too terribly long. But man, what a great way to do it. So the next thing we're going to do is get this transmission out of here, which is super easy. You can just take off that CV connection there, which looks okay. Thought it was loose. And this one over here. I'm going to take the whole axle out because I'm going to rebuild them anyway. I'm going to put new boots on there. One's torn, and put some new grease in there. There's these two bolts down here. One here, one over here. You've got to disconnect, of course, your clutch cable here. Just unscrew that. And also your Bowden tube down there needs to come off or out of that clipping, and it will do that when you slide it. And then way underneath here, right there, you've got a couple bolts to take off that are on that transmission mount, transaxle mount. And then inside the car, and it's locked right now so I can't get in, inside the car is the little bolt that holds the shifter on, and we're going to rebuild the shifter linkage as well, as long as we have all this out. This is one of those as long as I'm going to have all this apart, I might as well redo the brakes and do the headliner and paint it and do everything else. This is not done yet. There's a lot going on. But next step today, transmission and axles. Super easy. So these bolts on here are supposed to be, and if you can see down in there, kind of, they're a 12-point bolt. You can get an Allen wrench in there that tends to booger up the threads, but it should be one of these guys right here, triple square, a 12-point. These have all been boogered up, every one of them. So I could use an Allen and get them off, replace them. I'm going to try and use my hammer and just pound these in there a little bit and see if we can't get them off that way, just getting this in there a bit and then spinning them out. I'll probably replace them all anyway. I should have bought new ones when I got new boots, but we'll do what we can. So I think we got you in there where you can see in here okay. And, put on some gloves. Because like I said, these boots were all leaking and they're super greasy. And up inside the car here, I don't know, man. We'll see how this goes. I might not be able to get in there the best and get this pounded in there. I might have to get my... Oh, that one got in there fine. Yeah, I think we're gonna go. The wrong way. There we go. So only a couple of these probably are really bad. Get up in a position here where you can pull it out. Well, it might go around the world then. Okay, all of those are off with much hammering and swearing, and you can see I've pried the constant velocity joint just off of the transmission there. There's a little greasy mess in there, so you gotta be careful of that, but it's ready to go. I thought I'd show you inside here what we're going to be doing. So we got to get in the back seat. I've already removed the back seat, and I've got some stuff back here. I didn't take out the front seat, so it's kind of tight. I'm large. Stuff in the well here. So we got this access cover, which has one little Phillips screw that you take out and don't use, and then the cover simply pries open, and this is the shift rod, and then this is the hockey puck, the linkage to the transmission, and you just have to take out this little screw, which should be wired in there. I've already taken mine out once. It's not wired in there, but we'll loosen that up, and then you can see as I move the shifter here, I think we're in neutral. That's first and second there, and if we move it, you can see that twists third and fourth. So we actually want to be this direction. No, we want to be this direction, because then when I take that out, we can pull the shifter this direction, and it leaves that all behind. See all that slop in there? We're going to put a new bushing in there as well, and there's one that goes along the rod itself down towards the shifter that we're going to put in, and that really tightens everything up. So we're going to do that as well. But let me get that. Let me get a wrench and we'll get that nut out of here. All right, I'm gonna try and do this one-handed. Got a little adjustable wrench here. You're just gonna get it on there. I'm gonna fall over. There we go. That's better. And we're just gonna. It's loose. Don't have to take it all the way out. We're going to take it all the way out. There. And when you shift here, we come right off. So now the transmission is free on the inside. And we can go to the outside and finish taking out the 4 bolts I've got left and pull the transmission out. So I've got the 2 bolts out of the front transaxle mount out of there. I've got my jack supporting the transaxle, and the last 2 things are these 2 bolts down here that hold the whole thing together. And remember, the transmission is being held up by the jack. And so now it's loose. I should be able to hold this whole thing. Oh, Bowden tube and all. So the Bowden tube came with this. It just pops out of the little bracket over here. But there we go. We've got a transmission variously balanced on a jack. So this. Should be dump it sideways onto the ground. There we go. And there it is. It's not too heavy. I'll just lift it onto the ground and drag it out that direction. But we've got everything out. It's all out of the car. So now I'm ready to start redoing this again. I'm going to let me get in the camera. Want me in the shot? There we go. I think you should be able to see me, or the top of my head. Let me tilt that up a little bit more. So we're going to rebuild the top end of the engine. I need to replace the rear main seal, or front main seal. It's leaking. Looks like my oil cooler is leaking a little bit. The seal for that. Got some other miscellaneous leaks, but I'm just gonna clean those all up. Got a new transmission coming. I need to figure out what to do to straighten out the forks, if I'm going to unbend the forks or if I'm just going to modify the bracket that holds the whole shebang up. That might be the bad part to do. I don't know. I'm winging this in a lot of ways, so we'll see what happens. Bending those is probably hard, but they bent, when the car got hit, so they'll bend back. I'm thinking heat and a big pipe. But other than that, we're ready to go. I've got a bunch of parts to put back in here. You saw in the last video, I've got all the new parts that are going in there. So we're gonna do great things over the next couple months. That's my hope, is get this back on the road again by May or June. I'd love to drive it around Memorial Day weekend. We'll see what happens. But if I work hard in the evenings, I can probably get that done. But you see, we've got an engine over here, and as you know from the first videos, I pretty much redid that engine. I didn't rebuild it, I just cleaned it all up, cleaned up all the tin and everything, and it's all sitting out here ready to go. And we're going to do paint. We're going to do a bunch of stuff to finish this up and make it look like a well taken care of 50-year-old car, which it was until it got in an accident, until it got hit from behind by a drunk driver. So we'll get it back together. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I'd ask you to please like this video if you like it, watch the others, like them also, and please subscribe. I've got 82 as of this morning. I'd like a few more, I don't necessarily want to get rich doing this. I don't want to make $1 million, because I won't. But once you get to 1,000 subscribers, you start picking up some momentum. You get recommended more, and people see you. And so I just want to share this stuff with everybody, and maybe pay a little bit for the car. We'll see. I don't know if I need that in there or not. I might take it out. But we'll talk to you later. Enjoy the rest of your day.